it is one of the most endearing books of Scripture. It is a book that it reads kind of like a romance novel in a lot of ways. It leads us through part of the genealogy leading to King David, and then also Messiah. But the main theme of the book of Ruth is redemption. And we will see that as we go through it. Verse 1 of Ruth 1 says, "Now it came about in the days when the judges governed, that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the land of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons." This is during the time of the judges. How long did that time span last, the time of the judges? You know, you got Joshua judges Ruth. So in between Joshua and then Ruth it's at the end of that judges era. How much time frame? What are we looking at, you think? Any guesses? Couple hundred, that's a good guess. It's actually closer, it's about 400. Yeah. They went without a king. It was a difficult time. It was a time that was plagued with anarchy and lawlessness in the land. In Judges 17 verse 6, we read, "In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own eyes." In Judges 21 verse 25, "In those days there was no king in Israel. Once again, everyone did what was right in his own eyes." So that seemed to be the theme of Judges. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Why was there a famine in the land again? During the time of Judges? Because everyone did what was right in his own eyes. We're told specifically, don't do that. Deuteronomy 12 verse 8, "You shall not do at all what we're doing here today, every man doing whatever is right in his own eyes." Numbers 15 verses 39 and 40, "And it shall be a tassel for you to look at and remember all the commandments of Yahweh, so as to do them and not follow after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you played the harlot, in order that you may remember to do all my commandments and be holy to your Elohim." Proverbs 14:12, "There is a way which seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." Proverbs 21 verses 1 and 2 says, "The king's heart is like channels of water in the hand of Yahweh. He turns it wherever he wishes." I love that verse. So this is what you have to keep in mind. The king's heart is like the channels of water in the hand of Yahweh. He turns it whichever way he wishes. Every man's way is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the hearts. What we are to do is follow that perfect Torah of Elohim. Don't look at what's right in your own eyes. In James 1, starting at verse 22, James writes, "But prove yourselves doers of the word and not merely hearers who delude themselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks at his natural face in a mirror. For once he's looked at himself and gone away, he immediately has forgotten what kind of person he was. But the one who looks intently at the perfect Torah, the Torah of liberty, and abides by it, not having become a forgetful hearer, but an effectual doer, this man shall be blessed in what he does." That's a beautiful passage. The perfect Torah, the Torah of liberty. Now, how can laws be liberty? How's there liberty in Torah? How's that liberty? What's liberty mean? Freedom. Well, how's there freedom under laws?
You're not cursed.
Well, you're not cursed, that's true. You know the boundaries. There's a lot of freedom when you know the boundaries. You're free to do what you want. You can be very comfortable and happy about it. If this step right here were a 100-foot ledge and there's no fence there and it's dark out, hey, I got a lot of freedom to do what? to fall and die. Is that liberty? Is that freedom? What if there's a railing up there? Why, this stupid railing keeps me from being free, doesn't it? No. That's called life. That railing is called life. Cling to it. Be happy about it. That's what his Torah is. It's a railing over a 100-foot cliff. Now, the famine in the land, there's no doubt why there was famine. Because everyone was doing what was right in his own eyes. We're told in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, but it shall come about, if you will not obey Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes with which I charge you today, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. And the heaven which is over your head shall be bronze, and the earth that is under you iron. Yahweh will make the rain of your land powder and dust. From heaven it shall come down on you until you are destroyed. Since there was a famine in Israel, a certain man named Elimelech from the tribe of Judah traveled to Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. And here is where they traveled from, and you can see Bethlehem. Look at the yellow line to where they traveled out, and then Moab. I figured it's, you see the scale there of distances. The way they traveled, it was probably about 70 miles on foot. Verse 2. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. And the name of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah, or Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah. Now they entered the land of Moab, and they remained there. Elimelech means Elohim is my king. Naomi is literally the pleasant one. Now keep that in mind. That's going to come into play later. Her name is the pleasant one. The family is called Ephrathites. Now, Ephrath is another name for Bethlehem in Judah. In Genesis 35, verse 19, we read, so Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. And the reason they call it Bethlehem Ephrathah, it's to distinguish it from Bethlehem that's in Zebulun. There were 2 Bethlehems. In Micah 5:2, if you'll recall this prophecy, but as for you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you will go forth for me to be, one will go forth for me to be ruler in Israel. His goings forth are from long ago, from the days of eternity. And that's a prophecy of where Messiah would come from. Do you remember when the Magi, the wise men, came and they somehow knew that Messiah was going to be born, and Herod stopped them and said, where are you going? Well, we're following this thing in the sky. Why? Well, there's a king that's going to be born. Oh, really? So when the Magi snuck out and left, they were told Elohim told them to leave. So Herod gets the Jews, gets these guys together, these scholars together, these scribes, and says, okay, where is this Messiah supposed to be born? And what did they say? Bethlehem, because of this verse right here. They knew where he was going to come from. So Herod had all the little ones killed in that area, 2 years old and younger. Verses 3 and 4, then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. And they took for themselves Moabite women as wives. The name of one was Orpah, the name of the other was Ruth, and they lived there about 10 years. Now, the sons of Naomi, they married Moabite women. Their names were Orpah and Ruth. That shouldn't have happened, okay? They shouldn't have married Moabite women. In Deuteronomy 7, starting at verse 1, when Yahweh your Elohim shall bring you into the land where you are entering to possess it, and shall clear away many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations, greater and stronger than you, and when Yahweh your Elohim shall deliver them before you, you shall defeat them, and you shall utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, show no favor to them. Furthermore, you shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughters to their sons, nor shall you take their daughters for your sons. Now, this applied to particularly the Canaanites, and the Moabites were another people just outside of that, but there are other passages that disallow marriage with a pagan people. We can't combine with a pagan people. Yeah.
You say you can't combine with the pagan people, but earlier we were talking about if you capture these people and you see a woman you want to marry,
that's how you do it. You got to go through that. This was not a conquered people.
Oh,
okay. If you're searching for a wife, search among your people, is what he's saying.
And pagans are not the same?
Once again, they have to be willing. Okay? And he says in Scripture, don't, and then Paul put this in with unbelievers, people who weren't following Torah and rejected Messiah. You don't make a covenant with them. It's a principle. Now, verse 5 says, then Mahlon and Chelon also died. Chelon also died, and the woman was bereft of her 2 children and her husband. Well, okay, so Mahlon and Chelon died at a relatively young age. Now, that's it's probably due to these transgressions of Torah. In Deuteronomy 32, verse 39, see now that I am he, there's no no God besides me. It is I who put to death and give life. I have wounded, it's I who heal, and there's no one who can deliver from my hand. Psalm 89, starting at verse 30, says, if my sons forsake my Torah and do not walk in my judgments, if they violate my statutes, do not keep my commandments, then I'll visit their transgression with the rod and their iniquity with stripes. You remember when Abraham wanted to find a son or a wife for his son Isaac? What did he do? What did he say? Well, go find you a hot one out there and bring her home to me and let me know. Huh? He what? He sent a servant to go back there and says, when you find a woman who waters all your camels when you get there, that's the one. Okay, that was the sign that was given. Now, I don't know, I've never watered a camel, but I've heard about it. How many gallons of water, if you're taking a trip across the wilderness for, I don't know, 100 miles, how much water would it take to water the camel once you get there? Let's say 20, 30 gallons of camel. And there's half a dozen of them there. Now, how many of y'all have carried water? Is there anything worse than carrying water? It's heavy, and it sloshes out. You lose a lot. You get it all over you. It makes your hands 6 feet long. And that rod thing, you carry it by, it cuts into your fingers. It's miserable. And he pulls up with all these camels and says, this girl says, let me water your camels for you. And he says, whoo-hoo, yeah, she's the one. She's the one. She knows how to treat a stranger. That's how you're supposed to treat a stranger. She was following Torah. Well, that's what they should have done. They're what, 70, 65 miles away? Go back. Find a wife. They didn't do it. And they stayed there. Well, there's a famine in the land, but it was their own doing. Verses 6 and 7, then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the land of Moab. For she had heard in the land of Moab that Yahweh had visited his people in giving them food. So she departed from the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Naomi heard that Elohim blessed the land of Judah with food, and Naomi wanted to return to her people. This is in contrast to the decisions of her sons who chose this disobedience. Verse 8, and Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go, return each of you to her mother's house. May Yahweh deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May Yahweh grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. So Naomi told her daughters-in-law, go back to the house of your own mother so you can be taken care of. Naomi knew that her daughters-in-law were good people. They were good women. They helped take care of her very well. They took good care of their husbands. She blessed them and wished that they find husbands themselves, find new husbands. Verse 10, they said to her, no, but we will surely return with you to your people. But Naomi said, return, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Return, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I said I have hope, if I should even have a husband tonight and also bear sons, would you therefore wait until they're grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, it's harder for me than for you, for the hand of Yahweh has gone forth against me. Orpah and Ruth wanted to stay with Naomi, but she said she can't provide husbands for them. She's too old to have more children. And, okay, what is she talking about? What does she mean she's too old to have? Don't come, I can't give you a husband, I'm too old to have children. Why would she say that? Why don't she say, well, come back to my land and we'll find some husbands there. She's following Torah, that's why. Naomi's referring to the law that states sons are to marry their brother's wife if he dies and has not bore her a son. In Deuteronomy 25, verses 5 and 6, when brothers live together, one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a strange man. Her husband's brother shall go into her and take her to himself as wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And it shall be that the firstborn whom she bears shall assume the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out from Israel. So they didn't have any kids. Ruth and Orpah didn't have kids, so they had no heirs. And Naomi's saying, I'm too old to have kids, and if I wasn't, are you going to wait for me to have kids and don't get married again until they're old enough for you to marry? No, that's not a good situation.
What's the name of that law?
That's a Levirate law.
That's right.
So she says, no, go back to your mothers, and they'll take care of you. You need to find husbands. Verse 14, and they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Then she said, behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. Obviously, both women wanted to stay with their mother-in-law. Orpah and Ruth were previous idolaters before marrying these sons of Naomi. But both loved Naomi. They were touched by her faithfulness to Israel and to the Torah. What did her name mean again? What's that? Yeah, pleasant one. Pleasant one. Well, her daughter-in-law thought so also. Now, while Orpah was not fully convinced and kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, Ruth, however, she clung to her. Verse 16, but Ruth said, do not urge me. It's something I want you to notice, too, about what Naomi said. It says, for the hand of Yahweh has gone forth against me. What does she mean? I think it had to do with her involvement, too, in the whole getting the sons married to Moabite women. Verse 16, but Ruth said, do not urge me to leave you or turn back from following you. For where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your Elohim, my Elohim. The faithfulness of Naomi was witnessed by her daughters-in-law, and especially by Ruth. Apparently her desire to be among Israel and to follow Elohim made a strong impression on Ruth. Ruth makes a declaration of independence and obedience. She proclaims her desire to be a part of Israel and for Naomi's Elohim to be her Elohim. By saying she wants to be part of Israel and to Elohim, She's saying she will be obedient to the Torah of Elohim also. She is going to be totally independent from her former pagan ways and put those ways and everyone involved in her past behind her. Family members included. Verses 17 through 19. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Thus may Yahweh do to me, and worse, if anything but death parts you and me. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. So they both went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came about, when they had come to Bethlehem, that all the city was stirred because of them. And the women said, is this Naomi? You know, Naomi, what's that name mean again? The pleasant one. She was remembered as that. She was remembered as that. She was well known and highly respected in Bethlehem, and she'd been gone many years. The text states that the city was stirred because of her return. Elimelech was apparently a man of high esteem. Verse 20. And she said to them, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, but Yahweh has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since Yahweh has witnessed against me and the Almighty has afflicted me? Well, she says, don't call me pleasant or the pleasant one anymore. Call me Mara. That means bitter. Because Elohim has dealt with her bitterly. She says, when she left Bethlehem, she left full. She had a husband. She had 2 sons. She left full. She came back empty. No husband, no sons. Verse 22, so Naomi returned, and with her Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, who returned from the land of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. The return at the beginning of spring at the barley harvest, that would have been the time of the great blessings they're talking about that Elohim was given that land. That would have been about the time of the Feast of Unleavened Bread.